So the first visualization dashboard I'm going to get into is the annual tracker, which is available in all plan to spend budgets. This is the most high-level summary view, and it gives a good eagle eye view of your budget. Main features of this are it's going to give you your full cash flow summary. It's going to draw your attention to what is your actual income and actual spending versus what your plan would say you're expecting and your spending would say, or you'd expect for your spending based on the current date. So if this budget started on July 1, well, today it's October 2nd. So based on the number of days I've gone by, what did I expect to spend? What did I expect to earn? Obviously, these are going to be estimates, but it's just like a helpful, I think, indicator of where you're at. I would say, seeing $6,000 less in income definitely seems like something is off in the setup or the budget and would need to be adjusted. Also gives you more of a ramp up view of that income actual versus expected and how you're tracking to it, and a net monthly cash flow. Since it's the start of the month, my mortgage has been taken out, my utilities, but I haven't received a paycheck. This doesn't surprise me too much to see, but in general, you want to be seeing like some net cash. Up top, you get the actual spend versus budget left overall, but then also broken down by those needs, wants, and savings. So you can see how you're doing those in those categories. You can also just see how that spend is tracking month over month. This is the total, and then you can hover on these to see the individual categories. I think this is a useful comparison, budget spent versus budget period complete. So again, this budget I have starting on July 1 is October 2nd, so approximately 25% of the budget period has elapsed, and I've spent just around 22% of that budget. So that tells me I'm doing pretty good overall if we just like look at this whole holistic view. And I wouldn't expect these to ever be perfect, but if there was a big discrepancy, that would definitely be something I'd want to drill into. And understand why, my spend might be outpacing what I'd expected. You can take a more granular look at that pacing in the spending by category and spend versus plan trend area of this. So this is showing you not just like the ratio of what's spent, what was budgeted, what was actual, what's left, what does that mean in terms of dollars spent, but then like also when I'm thinking about this in an annual view, how am I pacing? So this is showing me that my eating out, well, it's definitely suspicious that it's sticking out more than all of these. It's not kind of hovering around that 20 to 25% average that I'd expect for this point in my budget period. And indeed, it's like pacing over 200% more than I expect. So this is likely an area I'm going to need to drill into more. Can use the category tracker for that. I'll get into that separately. There are other things though that, might not stick out in terms of overall percentage, but just look a little bit off. So for example, car insurance, it's a little higher than I would expect for this point in the budget period. It's pacing quicker than I would expect. And so maybe that actually went up and I need to adjust my budget. And then you get, kind of just basic summary information, spending, actual spend by type, actual spend by category. So I think this gives just like a nice eagle eye view of your plan versus your actual. The next dashboard I'm going to get into is the current month. This is a more granular view and really intended to help you understand week-to-week decisions within the month. But this probably works better for some categories than others. So for example, today is October 2nd, so only 2 days have elapsed in the month. My housing budget is approximately $3,000, and my actual spend is my mortgage payment because it's already gone through. It's a little less than what I had budgeted. So this is showing me I basically spent it all and it's only the second day of the month. Well, that's fine for housing because I always spend that just at the start of the month. But then you have things like groceries and eating out, where it is more helpful, I think, to understand not just like what is the percent that I've spent, but like how am I pacing in that compared to where I'd expect to be for the number of days elapsed. So it's just helpful to understand that because I'm actually not concerned about this being so much higher than expected. It's just, there's not a great way, I haven't thought of a great way to account for the fact that some of these are just expected to be spent early in the month. It is really helpful though for things like here we see eating out. It says my balance is negative. Well, that's because I ran a deficit going in from last month. And so I have no budget remaining based on that annual plan that expects me to kind of pace out that eating out over the course of 12 months. So this is telling me, one, I could adjust my budget and allocate more to this, make the necessary adjustments if I have the money, if I have the resources to do that. Or two, I need to pull back on eating out. I need to change my behavior. And then as the months progress and I'm accumulating more income, then that bucket is refilling and you're going to see that it gets adjusted. This data pulls from the month log, so you never have to copy this or anything. This is always going to be current to whatever today's date is, and your transaction data. But if you wanted to kind of see how that's rolling, it pulls from this month log to see, okay, what was the budget plan? What would that mean month over month based on actuals, to get the adjusted budget. And that is your current month view. The last view, and one I think is particularly helpful for drilling into areas where you might need to make adjustments in your budget, is the category tracker. So for example, we were seeing that eating out, it looked like I was under budgeting on that. So this is a place where I can come drill into that category further. I can see where are the top 10 merchants where I'm spending. This is just going to aggregate anything that has the exact same name. So it's showing probably getting pizza being a significant factor here. You can also see though like how it's been trending week over week. So this shows me that there was a period back in July where this was quite high for the week, but then it's kind of come back down to closer to what I would typically estimate. So that tells me maybe my budget isn't as far off as just looking at the expected rate would suggest, because the longer I kind of stay at this level, the more that's going to even out. But maybe this isn't that uncommon and there are just periods where I spend more because I get busy at work or whatever. And so if that feels more true to me, then I'm probably going to want to adjust that budget accordingly. The other points of comparison you get here are just, again, the spent versus left, total spent, and then how this is averaging out month over month and week over week, and how that compares to your estimated monthly budget for this category and weekly budget for this category. Some of these are going to be more interesting than others. Obviously, drilling into utilities, kind of seeing where those biggest drivers are. Housing's not very interesting at all because there's just one merchant. It's the same, month over month. But particularly helpful, I think, for drilling into areas where you're looking to make either budget changes or behavior changes. The last tab is really just intended for use on your mobile device. It pulls a few of those must-have stats out about your current month, current year, actual income, actual spend versus budget. I definitely recommend using the Google Sheets app if you plan to use this on your phone, and then just using this tab, which is going to be optimized to those smaller viewports. That's pretty much it. You can purchase just the annual view on the budget on PlanToSpend Etsy store, or you can purchase this full suite of views as well. And yeah, would love your feedback, would love your questions. I'm using this to manage my own finances, and I'm always looking for ways to improve it, and would welcome feedback. Thank you.